Alright, well, that answers that question. Yeah, apparently if you want a USB port to completely shut off your phone when you're trying to use it, then yeah, by all means, buy one of those cheap-ass double lighter things. Suffice to say, I don't have the phone charging right now. I unplugged it from that. Still charging the TomTom though. I guess I'll plug in my iPod later or whatever and charge that. Maybe that might work on that that thing. Maybe not. I doubt it. But hey, the only thing you missed was in the last like 3 miles between videos is I left Ohio and I've just entered Indiana. And of course the rain has picked up again. It's coming down in buckets like it was before, but I'm driving through a work area, so I gotta go 55 anyway. I'm alright. Still got some of my coffee left. And I got 252 miles to go before I get to Windy City. It was kind of funny. They had a sign as I was leaving Ohio. Well, I can go 70 again. I don't know if I want to, but I'll go it. But anyway, they had a sign when I left Ohio that said, you know, something about come back soon. And, you know, maybe I might. Well, maybe not soon, you know. Maybe in October I'll drive through. I'll drive through like Cleveland to get to Chicago if I still go back out to Chicago in October. But honestly, no offense to the people of Ohio, but from what I've seen, you know, I was a little disappointed by the White Castle headquarters. You know, the whole building looked like a byproduct from the 60s. I was expecting something a little more grand, but, you know, well, actually, no, that's not what I was disappointed about. I was disappointed that you couldn't buy White Castle inside the headquarters. Somebody told me you could get White Castle inside the headquarters. Yeah, traffic's getting a little slow now because everybody's slowing down because of the rain. That's okay, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. We all got our flashers on, well, except for that asshole in the little smart car over there. I bet you that's that same fucking guy that almost ran into me when I was going into West Virginia. I wouldn't be surprised. It's not a smart car, it's one of those little Nissan Fits, or whatever the hell they're called. The guy looked like an asshole. Let's see if I can get up ahead here. Let me see if it's him. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that drive these, but it's a silver Nissan Fit, or whatever the hell it's called. One of those little tiny cars. Now that I'm in Indiana, I'm really not, I don't really like the idea of being able to drive through Gary. I hope TomTom's not going to send me through Gary, Indiana. I've heard horror stories of Gary, Indiana. I don't want to. Here we go. I doubt it's him, but I'm going to see. Nah, if it's a lady. Okay. It wasn't that guy. But I'm passing most of the traffic. It looks like everybody's on the right-hand lane. The rain looks like it's dying down a little bit. I can kind of see the horizon. I think I'm going to be driving out of it soon. So that's good. I'm going to turn my flashers off. I'll keep the lights on. It's a little dark. But there's no rain. I mean, it's raining, but it's not raining like it was. But it's still pretty dark up in the sky. But from what I can see in the horizon, it looks like I'll be driving out of this. So that's good. Of course, there might be some more past this. I don't know. I have to turn the AC back on. It's starting to get fogged up in here again. I'm just going to keep it on low because I got the... it's really not that humid thanks to the rain. You know, I really don't need to have the AC on it like the third notch like I did all day yesterday. I barely have to use it today. That's cool. I'd like to think I got Chicago to thank for that. You know, because I'm going north now. Or I'm going west, but then eventually I'm going to be heading north. So I'd like to think Chicago and the whole Canadian jet stream, or whatever you want to call it, has something to do with it. And of course this rain, you know. And how I got a positive attitude about everything. Oh, wait a minute, I forgot to finish. Yeah, so that girl Brittany, I found out she was kind of full of shit. Because I'm not an expert on Chicago. I've only been there, this is my 5th time, July, December, alright, 5th time going there. But I do basically know the CTA system like the back of my hand. Alright, I'm gonna... There's a callus on the back of my hand. I don't... Okay. Maybe that's just some dry skin. I'll put some hand cream on there when I get home. It's a saying. It's just a fucking saying. It's not literal. Anyway, I know Chicago pretty good. The CTA system pretty good. But, and now that I'm going to be driving there, that's going to be a whole new challenge. I don't know what the fuck I'm going to be doing driving. I mean, I'll be getting around faster, I'm sure, but and I hope it's not like Philadelphia where half the battle is parking. You know, it's one thing to get around, but parking is, you know, is its own little issue. But yeah, I mean, what we ended up doing, well, first of all, she wore sandals the whole time. Alright, which isn't a good idea. We got on the metro train. It took an hour on the metro train to get from Harvard Park, whatever, that train station to Union Station in Chicago. It took an hour. Oh, come to Chicago. I live in Chicago. Bitch, you don't live in Chicago. You live an hour fucking train ride outside of the city limits. That is not in Chicago. I don't know what it is with people who live in the area who say like, oh yeah, I live in Chicago. No, you live in the northern suburbs. You live in Evanston. Evanston is its own town. It's not actually Chicago. As a matter of fact, the hotel I'm going to, it's in Worth, Illinois, but they said it's in Chicago. What the fuck? It's a 15-mile drive into the city center. How the fuck is Worth, Illinois part of Chicago? I don't get that, you know? The same thing with New York City. They always say with New York City, they say, you know, Brooklyn, New York, Queens, New York, Bronx. Motherfucker, they're all their own towns. They're not actually part of New York City. The actual New York City is Manhattan. That's New York City. Everything else is just kind of connected. Queens, New York is Queens, New York. It's not, you know, Queens, New York City, New York State. It's Queens, New York. Queens, New York State, not Queens, New York City. They're boroughs. It's like, I don't get that, you know. I mean, maybe it's because I'm from Baltimore. We don't have that kind of pull. We don't have that kind of say on things. But even then, people say like, you know, hey, I'm from Baltimore. No, you're not. You're from Edward Norton. Edward Norton's always like, oh, yeah, I'm from Baltimore. Motherfucker's from Columbia. He's from Columbia, Maryland. It's 20 minutes out of Baltimore. That's not Baltimore. It's fucking Columbia. Say it what it is. It's not... Arundel Mills is not Baltimore. It's Arundel Mills. It's an offshoot. These are all offshoots of the nucleus. God damn it. Ugh. But anyway... So we got off at Union Station and we walked around and we went right to Willis Tower. And let me just tell you right now, Willis Tower, I mean, you got Willis Tower and you got John Hancock Plaza. I recommend John Hancock Plaza. That building has a hell of a view. If you want to see the lake, go to John Hancock. But if you want to see other buildings surrounding you, go to Willis Tower. You know, it's, yeah. And then they got the box, they got the plastic box thing. That's a bunch of shit. We actually never went up into Willis Tower because we were standing in line the whole time. It was 4th of July, so there was like a line all around the block trying to get into Willis Tower. And then so she was like, well, let's just go to the park. And we did. We just said, to hell with this, we went to the park. And I think we took a taxi from... She paid for all the taxi rides. I don't want to sound like I'm a dick or chauvinistic or anything, but we did agree that she was going to pay for the taxi rides. And that's what she did. Bless her heart. I paid her back later. I paid her back. But anyway, she paid for the taxi ride to get to Millennium Park. No, wait a minute. No, we walked to Millennium Park. And then we walked all through Millennium Park. And then we got to Lakeshore Drive. We got to Lakeshore Drive. And when we got to Lakeshore Drive, I was like, oh hey, there's that Buckingham Fountain. Buckingham Fountain is the name of it, right? Buckingham Fountain. Anyway, we got to Buckingham Fountain, and we walked all the way up Lakeshore Drive so we could check out the fountain. And she was just following me around. I mean, I think she was starting to realize, like, oh shit, I'm out of my element. He's, you know, like she's probably only been to Chicago, like maybe for a day trip before this incident happened. But I had already been to Chicago through Watch Dogs, The Blues Brothers, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. There's a ton of movies that I can name that just not off the... Code of Silence, Above the Law, The Hunter, which was a shitty movie, by the way. Actually, you know what? I like to think that Steve McQueen's final movie was actually Tom Horn. Which was well, it wasn't much better of a movie either, but it was better than The Hunter was. Even though The Hunter was officially his last movie, but he made them both at the same time, so I like to think Tom Horn was his official final movie. Because The Hunter was a piece of shit. It really was. And it's a damn shame that he died of cancer, but, you know, all of our heroes, they all have flaws in some way or another, you know, and apparently he was kind of a womanizer and a booze drinker. I kind of blame Sam Peckinpah for that, because I'm sure Sam Peckinpah dragged him around to all these different parties, and, you know, and Sam Peckinpah, that guy was an asshole. He was a genius, but he was an asshole. But yeah, he kind of dragged Steve McQueen down with him, and he ended up getting, well, actually it was melanoma poisoning. I don't think it was actually cancer. He went to Mexico to get cancer to get fixed up, and they wouldn't let the doctors wouldn't let him have the operation or something like that. I know there's a story behind that, but I don't know it offhand. I'm sorry. Google it. It's interesting. I mean, they ought to make a movie about that, like the final days of Steve McQueen. That would probably be a hell of a movie. But yeah, he wasn't. I mean, he was a hell of an actor. But you know, even John Wayne was like, you know, he was a good screen presence. Let's put it that way. But apparently, he had his private life was a little messed up, a little teeter-totter. Of course, I'm sure there's a lot of actors that are like that. But the one thing that was cool about Steve McQueen was the fact that he was, you know, he was like a cruise actor. They call that, you know, nowadays they call it a cruise actor. He would always defend the crewman on a set, kind of like Tom Hardy does nowadays. You know, like Tom Hardy, like when during The Revenant, he got into a fight with the director. What the hell's his name? But whatever. Anyway, he got into a fight with that guy because that guy was being a big-time dickhead on the set, and apparently Tom Hardy put him in a chokehold and set him straight because he was treating the crew members like shit. And a lot of actors wouldn't do that. A lot of actors would just be like, yeah, well, you're the crew, just do it. Now, Tom Hardy was like, oh, yeah, mate, yeah, that's not fucking right. Yeah. And, you know, basically got into a fight with the guy and set him straight. And all the crew members were like, yeah, fuck you, fuck yeah. You know, Tom Hardy, he's our hero. So, yeah, guys like that, just normal blue-collar dudes, that's what Steve McQueen was like. Of course, I don't know if he got into a lot of fights over crew members, but there was a story about when he was making The Getaway, and I'm talking the original Getaway, the remake with Alec Baldwin and the blonde chick who looks really good. Beckinsale? Nah, not Beckinsale. Basinger, Kim Basinger. That was good, but yeah, that was. But the original with Steve McQueen was like, and Kelly McGraw, I think her name was, who he ended up marrying later on after he left his first wife. His first wife was fucking hot. I don't know what the hell he was thinking there. That was retarded. But like I said, all our heroes are flawed. Anyway, the original Getaway, when he was making that, he had the option to stay in like a suite at the hotel in Texas or Kansas or wherever it was they were filming at the time. And but all the crew members had to stay in like these shitty, as they called it, flea bag motels. And he said, "No, I'll stay in the same place they're staying at." And he slept in the same hotel they did because he didn't want them to think he was better than them. You know, he was just trying to let them know, like, hey, I'm human too. I'm just Steve McQueen. I'm still human. You know, that kind of thing. You know, it was a bless his heart for that kind of stuff. But apparently, he was a real womanizer in his 60s, and you know, so. But anyway, getting back to what I'm talking about. After all those movies and TV shows, I basically have been to Chicago before I actually was in Chicago. You know what I mean? The only problem is I just don't know. I just didn't know exactly where all these places are. There's actually a website. You look up a movie. There's a guy who lives in town. He did it for Only the Lonely. He did it for Hoodlum, which was actually supposed to be set in New York, but New York is way different than it was in the 30s. So they ended up filming a lot of it in Chicago because Chicago still has a lot of the 1930s architecture, which was a good call. It was actually a pretty decent movie. I mean, it wasn't like great, but it was a pretty decent movie. Like usual, Andy Garcia stole the whole fucking thing. But anyway, the movie was actually filmed in Chicago, and there's a website where this guy goes around taking pictures of the filming locations, and he has a comparison shot of the movie. It's kind of like what I'm doing with Watch Dogs, except he's doing it with stuff that's actually been filmed in the past. Except what it is with Chicago is a lot of the stuff in the town is getting torn down, and they're like building condominiums up. So some of the stuff that's in these old movies, well, they're movies from the 90s, but some of the stuff that's in these movies is not there anymore. But he points that out in the. Thought it was a funnel cloud. I mean, it's not like a funnel cloud, but it looked like there was something, you know, clouds rotating, like a failed funnel cloud, you know. This is my second time in Indiana. First time was when I slept through half of my first time because I was on a fucking paint mixer of an Amtrak train. But this is my actual time going through Indiana for the first time, you know, in a car, the way it's meant to be, you know, experienced. I got 233 miles before I get to Chicago. The rain's let up, but it's a 2-lane street, and there's a lot of semi-trucks on it. But semi-trucks are my excuse to speed up a little bit so I can get past them. But anyway, what I'm getting at is I think Brittany might have felt like she was out of her element because here she was. She made herself out to be a lot of things that she turned out not to be. But one of them was an expert on locations in Chicago, and it turned out she was full of shit with that. Why are we slowing up? Turns out she was full of shit with that. And when I started going, oh hey, it's that fountain from Married with Children. Oh hey, these are the stairs from The Untouchables. This is the, and she had never seen any of these movies. I mean, I was like, have you been under a fucking rock your whole life? What do you mean you've never seen any of these movies? All right, screw it. I'm gonna get back over into the left lane. I've been fickle a lot during this road trip. I keep switching lanes, like as if it's just, you know, like settings on an air conditioner. It's like, oh no, it was better like this. It's just, nope, which is not a good thing. That's kind of dangerous. But at least with me, I know what I'm looking around. I'm most of the time. So it's not a bad thing to be fickle when you're driving. It's just a good idea to keep your attention on where you're going when you switch. You don't want to sideswipe somebody. But anyway, trying to get around this slowpoke Toyota, and apparently he's not happy about it. He was beeping the horn like a crazy motherfucker about it. But, you know, when you're going to go 65 miles an hour in a 70 zone and a Toyota passes you and a guy going 80 miles, you know, get over it, old timer. Now, if only I could get around this truck with the giant tires on it, I'd be alright. Apparently the Orioles aren't doing too good. They've already lost 2 games to the White Sox. I don't know what the score is going to be tonight. But, yeah, I hope they win when I go there tomorrow. That'd be good. But here's what could have happened with the Chicago thing with Brittany. What we could have done was, instead of walking all the way to, well, here's what happened. When she ended up paying for a taxi ride from Millennium Park to it was Millennium Park to something else. Millennium Park to Navy Pier. And like I said, that's how I learned not to go to Navy Pier. Navy Pier was bullshit. But what we ended up doing was we ended up going to taking the water taxi from Navy Pier. Yeah, we ended up taking the water taxi from Navy Pier to what do you call it? Grant Park, where we watched the fireworks, and then from Grant Park we walked all the way to the Best Western at we walked all the way to the Best Western at what do you call it? The Best Western at Grant Park, so we could finally use the bathroom. Suffice to say, I ended up staying at that Best Western when I was there in December, and then of course again in May. I already told you all about that yesterday. But what we ended up doing was we ended up taking a taxi from Grant Park, Best Western, back to Union Station. And you know what we could have done? We could have taken the goddamn L train from Roosevelt Station to Union Station. Pretty sure of it. Pretty sure we could have, but I don't know. Anyway. I guess the real moral of the story here is, if you're going to be hiking with Eric Seidel, don't wear fucking sandals. And if you're going to be living in Chicago, actually be in Chicago. Don't be in Evanston. Don't be in Worth, Illinois. Don't be in fucking Harford Park. Be actually in Chicago. Motherfucker! You should have let me over! Now you can come over, bitch! With your fucking goddamn traffic tires back there. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna get back over in the left lane just as a little fuck you to that guy. Yeah, see, you could have let me over earlier, dick. But there you go. Now you go back to your farm. Go make your corn. Or whatever the fuck it is you're gonna use those tractor tires for. Asshole. Yeah. I don't typically suffer from road rage, but it's just douchebags like that. Of course, I am in Indiana, so that might have something to do with it. And it's pretty sunny. I guess the devil must be beating the hell out of his wife, so I'm going to turn the lights off again. Location in less than 30 minutes. I only got 37.2 really nothing to look at. You know, it's farmland, just like it was going into Columbus. It's all farmland. I mean, at least yesterday, most of the trip was Appalachian Mountains. It was all kinds of different things. You know, it was the little towns I could see from the street. There was a hell of a view from the top of this one mountain. It was I could see towns, and I wish I had my camera ready. I could have taken a picture or some video of that. But that was beautiful. This is the kind of shit you see when you're driving to Ocean City. This is just farms. America's breadbasket, yes, but I'm not trying to drive through a refrigerator. I'm trying to, or a pantry, I guess. It's not that cold out. But I'm trying to fucking get to where I'm going. And it's, you know, why can't they just like take the map and just like fold it and then boom, I'm there in Chicago. 2 hours taken care of. But no, it doesn't work that way. I saw the trailer for The Crew 2, which is a hell of a, well, The Crew is a hell of a great game. I like that game. I wish I had the time and the money. I would just, you know, do like I'm doing with Watch Dogs, go to all the locations in The Crew all around the country and just do comparison pictures of that. Maybe not even do comparison pictures, just go there, you know. Like the thing I'm wondering with The Crew 2, I'm wondering if they're going to just copy-paste the same map, or if they're going to, like, take the United States and, like, expand it a bit, and maybe make more cities and more landmarks to visit and shit. Of course, we're going to have airplanes now, so that'll be neat. Maybe helicopters, too. So, I wish I knew. I mean, the game itself looks pretty neat. The trailer looked a little weird with the way they did the Inception folding thing. I don't know what that. I hope that's not going to be an actual game mechanic. I hope this is going to be like the first Crew, and this is going to be like a free roam map, and that's it. That would be good. Except I just hope it's a bigger map. I hope they add more locations to everything. That's all I'm hoping for. That's all I would ask for. What did I do that in there? Turn these off now. The rain's over with. But there's a roadside, there's a sign over there. It looks like Godzilla got to it and like shattered it or something. It was all twisted and bent. This might be tornado country. Because I don't know what else could have done. Either that or a car went off the bridge and hit it or something, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know enough about The Crew 2, the map. I wish I had information on the map. Everyone's talking about all these new vehicles we're going to be driving. Oh, that's great. What the fuck is the map going to look like? That's what I want to know. I don't even have to see the map. Just tell me if they're going to expand on the original map. That's all I care about. Speaking of free roam maps, I haven't played Watch Dogs 2 yet. I'm so hell-bent on getting this Watch Dogs comparison hub thing done. I don't want to touch Watch Dogs 2 until I finish that. Until I finish my Twitch series. That's it. I'm not touching Watch Dogs 2 until then. So I don't even know what the hell. They could have added all kinds of new gadgets and a big free roam map, and I don't care. I don't want to go near it until I beat the first one. Well, I've already beaten the first one several times, but I want to finish what I'm working on and then play it. You know, so that's why I haven't touched that. From what I hear, people are saying the gameplay is a lot better in the second one, and that's well, the gameplay in the first one was pretty decent. So I don't know what they could have done that makes it even better than that. Hell is that? Well, I really don't need these anyway. there by 5 o'clock. But I don't know if that's 5 o'clock my time or 5 o'clock Central Time. I think I might be in the Central Time Zone now. So I don't know. Shit. I got too quick. Green to me, but you know. Yeah, I think I gotta develop a strategy. My right leg here, I don't know if I told you yesterday, but I think I got. Alright, that worked. I had to readjust my seat a little bit. Well, when I say my seat, my ass, I had to readjust how I have my ass in the seat. Because my knee was starting to hurt again, like it was yesterday. And I'll bet this is going to be a much shorter trip than it was going from Philly to Columbus. It's probably going to be like 2/3 that length of time to get to where I'm going. So that's good. Because Columbus is basically like right next to, well, not right next to, but it's like there, you know. I mean, Pennsylvania is a much longer state than you might even realize that it is. I mean, going from Philadelphia to Columbus it's like that. But Columbus to Chicago is like this. So it's still kind of a distance, but it's not a big one. For example, like New York to Los Angeles would be. Well, I can't spread it far enough, but that's basically, it's more like New York to Nebraska, I guess. But yeah, I got to keep adjusting my seat so that I get some circulation going through my leg properly, because otherwise my knee's going to start to hurt. I can't keep stopping and getting out, stopping and getting out. I gotta keep pushing on through. If I hadn't stopped yesterday, I probably would have got to Columbus like an hour earlier than. Oh, Jellystone Camp Resort. Huh. I wonder if Yogi Bear's there. No, can't stop. I gotta keep going. Asshole. Of course he's not there. For fuck's sake, he's a cartoon character. Shit, man. Everybody's stopping, for fuck's sake. Well, they're not stopping. They're just slowing down. I'm going at 70 along here. What are you doing? Yeah, get over, flatbed truck. Thank you. So we can, everybody who's not fucking banging their sister can drive through here. Thank you. Asshole. Ugh. Once again, I don't have road rage. I'm just in a hurry. Okay, maybe I got a little bit of road rage. Maybe just a little bit. 25 miles to the next Tom-Tom thing. driving along, and I'm coming into another work zone area, and it said slow down to 55, so I'm like, okay, I'll go down to 65. You know how I do. Now it's saying go 45, so now I'm down to 55 miles an hour through this work zone. Which, if I was driving on 83 in Baltimore, would be like, oh, that's the normal speed. Yeah, it's the normal speed, but, you know, that's the one thing that sucks. There's things I hate, and there's things I'm scared of, alright? I'm scared of semi-trucks. Well, that's about it. When it comes to driving, I'm scared of semi-trucks. But there's things I hate, too. I hate idiot drivers. I hate work sites. I hate, well, I hate New Jersey. Well, I hate New Jersey in general, whether I'm driving or not. I hate toll booths. Well, toll booths aren't so bad when you got an easy pass. So that's not a big deal. That's low on the totem pole. It just kind of sucks when you're going into a place and it's like they don't charge you nothing. And it's like, yeah, come on in, but then you got to pay a toll to get out. You know. That sounds like ransom to me. You know, that's just me though. But work sites are a pain in the ass because you got to slow down. There we go. All right, that's it. Back to 70 we go. Or I should say back to 80. And it's raining, but it's not raining real bad. It's not like, you know, turn the wipers on raining like it was before. Now he's, oh shit, now get back over. You gotta, I think that's a state law. I think that's a national law now. You have to get over in the next lane when you see a police officer parked at the side of the road. Which is actually a good law because, I mean, you know, police officers, cops aren't perfect, but at least not in Baltimore. They're definitely not perfect in Baltimore. But cops aren't perfect, but at least you know, you don't want them getting crushed on the side of the road while they're trying to give someone a speeding ticket or, you know, arresting somebody for a drug bust or, you know, or in the case of Baltimore, pulling them over because they're black. There, I said it. But yeah, you don't want to see them get killed on the side of the highway, so it's a good law that you have to get over. It's cold now, but I don't care. White Castle, Starbucks cup. That's about it. Okay, maybe not that much. The thing that bugs me right now is I got this, whatever the hell this is on my shades here. It looks like a bird shit on my shades. I know they didn't, but I must have put it in my pocket. This isn't the safest thing to do, by the way. No, I wouldn't recommend doing this. There we go. That took care of most of it. Everybody's trying to get over all of a sudden, but I think there's a reason, so I'm going to get on the left lane. Sign just now that said ramp to I-465 up ahead, no wide loads. Made me think of fat people. Oh, see, there we go. Now they got a sign with a Starbucks. Well, too late, assholes. Ha. Stop and wait in Gary, Indiana to get gas. I'm at half a tank right now. See, what I've been doing is I've just been stopping for gas when I get down to like a quarter. So I got another quarter tank of gas before I get to that point. Because they say you should never stop in Gary, Indiana. It says avoid Gary, Indiana. No, wait, fuck it. If I get killed, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. If I get killed, that's just the way it is. So, you know. Gary, Indiana. Think of it, you know, Aiden Pierce, he'd probably be more useful in Gary, Indiana than he would be in Chicago. Because from what I hear, the crime rate in Gary is pretty bad. Of course, I hear the crime rate in Wilmington, Delaware is pretty bad too, but when I drive through that, it's not, well, I don't drive through it, it's kind of like you drive past it. But, you know, maybe that's how Gary, Indiana is probably going to be. It's probably going to be you just drive through the interstate and then that's it. But from what I saw from going to the list of TomTom places and everything, it looks like, what the hell was it? It was someplace called Hammond. Lebanon. Yeah, alright. Okay, well, if I need to get gas, I'll stop in Lebanon, Indiana. Yeah, that sounds so much more safe than fucking Gary, Indiana. Yeah, hey, kids, let's go to Lebanon. We're gonna go to Lebanon. We're gonna visit the Mecca, or we're gonna get blown up by a bomb vest while we're in Lebanon. And yeah, that's gonna be great. Let's do that. Oh, Jesus. Miles ago. It seems like, doesn't it? I'm gonna conserve some battery juice here, and I'm just gonna